Do
Hello,
it.
everyone. We're late, and it's because we didn't communicate properly. But that's no surprise.
It's my fault.
it's no one's fault. We're all garbage. Anyway, we're basically this is just a ticking time bomb stream. We're just gonna keep talking until Looter's cat ruins the entire stream by jumping under camera. So, we have very limited time. But mainly, we're going to talk about women in cEDH. And with the amount of tournament events that are coming up next year, Eminence hosted, Monarch hosted, everybody hosted, there are going to be more cEDH tournaments this year, 2023, than in any other prior year. It's going to be fucking exciting and exhausting, and we're all going to love it. But we want to make sure they're handled correctly. So I'm going to leave it for Adam to talk about our topic a little bit, but I will talk about our sponsors and our upcoming events. Our sponsors are amazing. We have Moxfield and we have the Epic Storm. The Moxfield is the premier deck building website. It is where you go to build decks. If you go anywhere else, you're going to the wrong place. I recently started building a Rashmi deck for cEDH, and I wanted to make it my full Mystical Archives cEDH deck just to, like, hurt every judge that I play with and against and every player, because I'm the only one who's going to know what it does, but no one's going to believe me that I know what it does, and I won't even believe me. It's going to be great. I'm sorry in advance. But I got to change all of the arts in my Moxfield list to all the mystical archives, so I knew which ones I had to get, and I got the foils, and they had, like, the correct pricing and everything. Moxfield's amazing. You have to use it. If you haven't used it, and you are trepidatious about using it for any reason, please message me directly and I will tell you all the reasons why you should give it a try. The Epic Storm is also great. They are content creators, they are token makers, they are everything. When you are going to these tournaments, there are so many rules and regulations to prevent cheating these days, and one of the biggest ones that I always stumble into is using your dice as counter for storm, for mana, for anything. Dice are kind of a no-go at tournaments these days, especially online ones. So get little at the Epic Storm tokens. They're so tiny, and you can have multiple of them, and they count your mana, and they count your storm, everything. It's so great. And they're super cheap, and they come in a big old pack, so you'll never run out. But, speaking of, we have a bunch of events coming up. Silicon Dynasty is the #1 event that's coming up of the next year, January 13th to 15th. It is sold out, however, there's a waiting list if you message eminence.events directly on email, Adam?
Yeah. If you email them, you can get on the waiting list.
Nice. I don't know where our email is off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's something eminence.events@gmail.com. I don't know. But it'll all be on the Eminence website that is on my Twitter that you'll find. It's amazing. But if you can't make it to Silicon, you can't make it to the waiting list, please come to just hang out. There are so many people that are coming, not to play, but just to jam games in the interim. So you will find so much company there. It is in San Jose from January 13th to 15th. But if you can't make it, Punt City 2 is from March 24th to 26th in Phoenixville. The Cookout is in July. The Windmill Slam event is in September, also in San Jose. And then we have a final tournament to be announced. I'm getting a call from somebody I don't know. And yeah, please make an effort and, get out of your comfort zone and, ignore all the warnings in your head that are telling you that big social gatherings are really terrifying and scary, because there are many of them, but I promise it'll be worth it. If you get to one of these events and you've never been before, there's a lot of worries that go into it and a lot of reasons that you shouldn't go, but there's so many more reasons that it will pay off if you do get past that social anxiety of going. And distance, hopefully won't be an issue, because we are going to have East Coast events and West Coast events. We're going to have so many. So no matter where you are in the world, in the United States, hopefully, there's going to be an event for you. Please come to one of them. If you like what we're doing and you want to see more, we're on Twitch, obviously. And if you subscribe here, you can follow us and see what we're doing. And, when we're live and stuff, it'll tell you. If you have Amazon, you get a free Twitch subscription, so I've been told. I've tried to use mine, and I'm kind of bad at it because I kind of, am dumb. But anyway, we also have a Patreon. If you want to follow us there, it's at Eminence MTG, and you can support us that way. We are a nonprofit, and we only support ourselves in terms of travel, and that's it. We have really great guests today, and we're going to talk about them. Lua, who are you, and what do you do?
That's me. I'm Lua. Hi, my name is Lua Stardust. I'm an alternative model, a cosplayer, an all-around internet person who really likes to play Winota. I play a lot of casual EDH, popper, cEDH mostly, because that's what I like to do. And I think that's kind of it, right? Am I missing anything? Probably not.
Weren't you on Tellurian Community College?
I was just on Tellurian Community College. I did a popper episode with Andrea Mangucci, which was the most terrifying moment of my life. But he was really great. And yeah, I tend to be on other YouTube channels. I didn't even say I have a show called Scry Babies. It's a women-led Magic the Gathering. I should probably say that right. It's a women-led Magic the Gathering show. We just filmed some episodes, so you can definitely expect to see cEDH on there if that's the content that you like. And it should be coming out in the first or second week of January, so really soon.
Looter, what do you do? What's your story?
I be gay and do crime on Twitter. That's my summary of everything I do. It's just that. Mostly other than that, I just kind of play Magic. I play cEDH sometimes, not really. I mostly like engage in cEDH stuff, but I know I'm never gay. Absolutely would never be gay. Yeah, I just kind of exist. I also recently started a podcast called the On an Adventure podcast, where I just interview various content creators and talk about how magic has impacted their lives. You can find it on Spotify. The first episode went live this Monday. I talked to Ken, and it's gonna be fun.
What am I up to? Nothing much. I'm here live with Eminence TV. And I'm really hyped for this upcoming year because we have so many cool events that we're doing. Me and Shauna will be headlining the Silicon Dynasty event that's happening in like 2 weeks in San Jose, California. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, so we're really pumped for that.
My flight's going to get delayed, I know it.
I just know it. It's so gonna happen.
I think it'll be fine because the weather looks like it's looking up for the time being. But yeah, so I'm excited for Silicon Dynasty. We got Mox Masters. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. This is a big year for us at Eminence for 2023. So that's kind of what I've been focused on. Obviously, you can always find me right here at Sadnaz. It's my podcast and YouTube channel. Pretty much doing cEDH content for the enfranchised player and fun shit like that. But yeah, that's my story.
What are we talking about today, Adam?
Yeah, so today we have a pretty fun and under-discussed topic that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about basically the political climate of the cEDH community, specifically the Magic community in general. We have obviously 3 wonderful women with us as our, guests. Well, Shauna's not a guest. She's, a main headliner. But we have Lua and Looter joining us today. And so we're going to talk about their experiences as women in Magic and women in Magic in the cEDH community specifically, because they've had some, interesting things come up and some things that, we want to give them a platform to speak about. We're going to talk about the good things, the bad things, the uncomfortable things, and kind of have a discussion about where we want cEDH to go in the future. It's a new year, new us, and talk about some things that we'd like to change and help, progress and just be better as a community. So we're gonna kind of dive into that. So I'm not really sure how we can start this discussion, but maybe we start off with like what we do and how we kind of got involved in cEDH in general. Either Looter or Lua, either of you guys can start and we can go into it.
I don't know who
I'll start. Do you want to start? Okay.
One of us, right?
One of us. I'll start.
And it's also hard because our names are like not close, but they're kind of close. So it's like
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of got my start playing cEDH. Forever ago, God, was it like 2017? Yeah, it's like 2017. Soon after like Paradox Engine was printed, I saw a video I saw a YouTube video on Team Turn 3 of them playing a cEDH game, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then I just found the cEDH players at my LGS. I was like, hey, I want to play with you guys, and I just went from there. And it was just I think I'd started playing casual EDH a few months prior. And I've been playing Magic at that point for 4-ish years or so, give or take. And then I've just been playing cEDH ever since for the past almost 6 years at this point.
Hell yeah. it's kind of like rough to talk about Paradox Engine like it's a past thing.
Oh yeah, God, the card is so much fun.
Right there. Right
So
there,
much
just
fun.
looking at it.
I had a foil copy. It's so beautiful.
I have a foil, like, fancy one just looking at me.
Aww.
Which is sad because I've only started playing Magic about going on to 2 years now. So I'm really, really new to Magic. I've been collecting for a really long time Pokemon TCGs, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, and I unfortunately lost them all in a storage war bidding situation. So I had to kind of rebuild that as an adult. Like, I started collecting cards again, and I got into Magic the Gathering through a friend, and now I've been playing for, like I said, about 2 years. But about, like, a little less than a year into it, I started hearing more about cEDH, and I wanted to give it a try. And I have a lot of decks that tend to be commanders that aren't always the most casual. So I run a Kalia deck and a Winota and a Yuriko and an Agila. So, like, just the boundaries before cEDH. And I decided to give Winota a try, and it was love at first sight. Love her so much.
Nice.
Yeah. She is a cool lady, Winota.
She's incredibly great.
Yeah,
I know.
love Winota.
I'm looking at her right now, you know.
And in 2 years, when she gets banned, my condolences.
Right, real quick. I was like, I'm gonna play Pioneer, and then I woke up that morning and I put like 4 Winotas in my cart, and before I hit checkout, it got banned that morning. So I was like, cool. I'm hoping that she sticks around forever. Yeah. I would be really sad if she's not.
I started playing around RTR. I remember this because I pulled my first Mythic Rare, which was like Rakdos's Return or something like that. And my brother like spilled soda all over it after I told him that it was gonna spill. And I was like, don't put your like cup of water in your like backpack sides thing. When it was like, it wasn't like a water bottle, it was like a to-go cup from like McDonald's. And I'm like, that's gonna spill. And he was like, it's not gonna spill. And then it spilled all over my first Mythic Rare. Anyway, so that's when I started. Adam, when'd you start?
I started playing Magic in like 2015, and I started playing with my friends that were a bunch of nerds, and we played a bunch of video games, and people told us to go touch grass, and so we thought touching grass was playing Magic the Gathering. So we went to like our LGS, learned how to play, and then got into Commander because in 2015 it was cheaper than all the other formats. Now that isn't true anymore. It's way more expensive, but that's like kind of how I got into the game. Had a falling out with Magic, and then came back very recently within like the last 2 years or a year and a half actually, and then really enfranchised myself with the cEDH community, being a little bit older, understanding the game a little bit better, and trying to break things. So that's kind of like where my start in Magic has come from, and I'm a big tournament grinder, right? I play in like every tournament that I can get into. I make content about tournaments. And it's kind of something that I'm very passionate about. And I know that, like with Lua, right, you're very new to the tournament scene. Recently competing in your first actual cEDH tournament, right, which is like really cool and really unique. And something that might be interesting from your perspective is that I think Oktoberfest was the tournament that you participated in. Oktoberfest had a pretty diverse representation in it compared to past events that we've had, like in the community overall. I think, Shauna, you played in the Cash Cards Unlimited tournament, and you kind of experienced something too, where you had a pod where it was like almost all women, right? That you played in, right? Am I mistaken in that?
That is actually something that I probably told that to you, and then I was being dumb, because the Cash Cards tournament was actually me and one other woman.
Like, I was there.
I thought you told me that it was a pod with three other.
I think maybe I had one and Oko.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. That was the 3 other women was like a local store tournament at Finch and Sparrow. But yeah, the Cash Cards tournament, I literally made a woman friend. Normally, I would never talk to a woman friend. She approached me because I'm very nervous around women. So she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I just really appreciate the fact that you're here because I noticed that it's just you and me." And I'm like,
Well, that's something that I'm more used to seeing in these events, right? Is like there's 1 or 2 women that you see at an event, and it's something that's kind of like a harsh reality of like the Magic community overall. It's primarily a male-dominated hobby, and recently we're seeing a large increase in like a female representation overall. I know that like online and on Twitter, right? It's like I think there's a dominance of like female representation and women creators on Twitter. It's a cool space to see that kind of stuff being brought about, but still in-person play, there's a big lack of it. Looter, being a woman judge, you have experience to seeing that there's not a lot of women judges in the community. There's a lot more as time has progressed and things have been going, but historically and specifically in cEDH, there's not a lot out there that are really invested in this specific community, and it's a thing that kind of lacks representation. I don't know, like what because you're probably the most enfranchised player among us that has been involved for a while. You did Marchesa, and you judged at Marchesa, and then you judged at Oko. So you've kind of seen an evolution of the player base a little bit. I don't know if you want to kind of touch on what you've seen and some experiences that you've had, and we can kind of go around the round table and kind of just discuss like what that's been like as like new players coming into the format and kind of feeling maybe alone or left out or not having that kind of support system around you, and what that experience kind of is, you know?
Yeah. So I will say, Marchesa was like forever ago at this point. Like barely remember. Like God, that's like 7 months ago. Like that's basically like 3 years. Marchesa's like definitely pretty diverse. Like I think cEDH in general is really diverse. Like compared to Magic in general. Like I think just a lot of people, like prominent community members in cEDH, are women, or or are like LGBTQ, or just in general, rather than just like cis straight white males that like you just see on Twitter and who play their 1v1 formats or whatever. But like Oko is definitely a lot more diverse. It's like just like from my general glance, attending and judging both events, Oko is definitely much more diverse. Also, it's just a bigger tournament in general, so kind of like like there's like reasons for both. But I think cEDH is definitely growing in diversity, and it's great to see that.
It's growing, but I think there is a lack of representation at these events because of multiple factors, such as like maybe women aren't comfortable in these kinds of settings. I think it has a lot to do with it being so male dominated for so long that like maybe going to a table doesn't always feel the best. I think there was at least I played one game with another woman. I had 7 matches, so one game was with another woman, and then the other games, like I felt pretty fine with all of my male peers playing. Like there wasn't ever a time where I didn't feel safe, right? Like nobody ever made me feel bad, but there was definitely a time where 3 of them were ganging up on me. I understand why. I'm playing Winota, it's fine. But it's hard to not let your head go to a space where it's like, ooh, I'm the only woman at the table, so maybe this is like that kind of situation. As a woman in there. I don't think there was that many though. I think there was maybe like 5 or 8, somewhere around there at this event.
I know
Which isn't
I know of you, me, Alana, and
Claire was there.
I was there.
I played with a blonde woman, and that was it. That's all I know.
Yeah,
look, us we're like, oh, like what is that?
It's like
Right.
it's a small number,
Yeah.
right? Because you can count it on 2 hands, basically, the amount of women that were at an event. And when you have an event that's 160 players large, that's not a lot, right? That's not a lot of representation. It's under 1%. So that's pretty, or not under 1%. That's a wild number I put, but it's like under 10%. Yeah. Which is,
but it is amazing to see the more events that you're going to, which I'm sure, Shauna, you compete so much. The more frequently seeing more people or more women being in the circuit is probably like very nice to see. Even if it's a little bit shy of a conversation, it's probably nice to see other women doing what you're doing.
Sorry. I woke up from a nap, and I never take naps. This is my full transparency. This is my first day off. I work at Starbucks, and this is my first day off in 28 days. So
Oh my
I took a
God.
nap, and now my brain is just spaghetti. Can you repeat the question?
I was just saying, as a woman who is in the competitive tournament scene, right? Torment. The more you're going to them, the more women you're seeing, which is probably nice, even if it's a little awkward to have those conversations.
Yeah, it's not awkward on their behalf. It's just me. Like
No, that's what I'm saying. I feel the same way.
They just
Yeah.
make me so nervous. I just don't know what to. I feel like I'm gonna
Yeah.
say something bad. Anyway, yeah, I feel like that. Ken's in chat talking about taking naps. Oh my god. Oh my god. How am I supposed to have a serious conversation with all these ridiculous people? Anyway, I think that I love how we kind of started off this conversation talking about experience, because I think that the lack of women in cEDH is fully representative of how much experience women do not have in Magic, because men have been playing. Adam, you've been playing forever. Like, Lua, you just started. Looter, you're in the minority of the minority of women who have been playing for a long time. Like, I've been playing for a long time, but I have been playing cEDH seriously for maybe 2 years or so. So to be able to pay money and pay to travel and pay to participate in a tournament that you are probably going to do badly in because you haven't practiced is a really scary thing to do, because none of us have practiced. Like, and
Yeah.
it's just hard for women who, stereotypically have other hobbies like cosplaying, or not studying magic lines or combo lines, or knowing the meta. It's hard for us to have the confidence to participate in these events, especially with the looming social knowledge that women suck in Magic. Like, I remember I played Standard, and I like constantly got shit about how I had no idea what I was doing. I was building like dragons in Standard, and that was a stupid idea, and I won never. But to constantly get this kind of backlash for having no idea what I'm doing, only being there to date guys and pick up boyfriends, I've been told that on multiple occasions. I have picked up boyfriends in the Magic scene. All of my boyfriends have almost exclusively played Magic, and so that is not incorrect, but it wasn't why I was there. So having those things be said, it's hard to build the confidence to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to spend $100 to $400 to travel across the country, or travel several states across to participate in this event that I'm just going to do shit at, like, and publicly do shit at. So even though it is better to see like people like Alana consistently top 16 and consistently perform well, I'm sure that is a confidence builder. But to get past the mental block of just saying I am good enough to play among all these seasoned men is very difficult, because I just feel like I constantly can't measure up to them, and it's hard to keep the like intense amount of focus and confidence and kind of like willpower to play in a very stressful tournament, especially when that's nagging at the back of your head, because willpower and the strength to persevere through tiredness and stress and anxiety and lack of knowledge of your opponent's decks in a very stressful situation that is a time tournament, it's almost impossible. So to have all these factors that my male compatriots don't have, or maybe they have a different version of, it's always so difficult. So it's nice to see women constantly kind of going past that and taking the chance to play anyway, but it's hard. It's difficult.
Can I make 2 points on what you're saying? One, I didn't sign up for the tournament for Oktoberfest until like 4 days beforehand, because I was like, I don't know if I'm even have the time to do it, and I did it. I did it because I wanted to give myself a challenge, and I wanted to be the representation that I want to see at events. And I hate to say this in a way that sounds narcissistic, but I think I have inspired other women to go out and compete. And the reason I felt like I wanted to do that was because I was watching Shauna go out there and compete. And so I think it's the effect of constantly doing that. Number 2 is, we'll probably talk about this a little bit later. One thing I would like to make an action to doing more in the future, which I've done once for Silicon Dynasty, is finding women or non-binary folks that want to compete but maybe don't have the funds to, and sponsoring them. I think that's something as a community that we could do that's so simple, to be like, I'm paying for your entry so you can go have that moment and compete. I think that's something huge. Even, I know it's not cheap to do it. I know the travel and everything is not there, but even literally being like, I'm covering this for you so you can go have that play experience and give other people hope, I think is important. And also giving them a shot to have that moment is something I'd love to see more in our community.
And touching on like the travel thing, like it's easy for like 4 guys to be like, yeah, we're all 4 gonna split a hotel room, right? It's way cheaper than like one woman who has to either like find the one other woman friend who's going there to split a hotel room with them, or like split a room with like a guy. Like,
Yep.
Like it's a lot harder to do that when you might not like feel the most comfortable like sharing a hotel room with a man, and something like the like male Magic players just don't have to deal with. Like it's just easy to just find 4 of your friends who are going and just split a hotel room.
100%.
Yeah, this is like some high school dance vibes where you're like, I don't want to go alone, but nobody else that I'm friends with also wants to go. So like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I literally roomed with my brother and Ken for Oko, and I'm rooming with Ken and Lauren for Silicon. Like, if you don't have like those people that you're comfortable with going, like, it can be a huge like obstacle to getting the confidence and the funds to going. So, what were you gonna say, Adam?
I was gonna say that like that's a point that like nobody really thinks about, right? Like, because that is like a big thing. Like for me, for Silicon Dynasty, like I'm splitting a room with like Dan, my friend Dan, and I've split rooms with like Kevin and Kian before, and like where we had one bed and all slept in it together. You know what I mean? But like if you don't have other mutuals or other women to do that with, you're not going to get that experience where you get to go to a tournament for $50 a night or $25 a night because you're splitting it with all your friends, because that's not a real comfortable situation, right, to be in. And so that's like something that people don't really think about when it comes to that kind of stuff. And to kind of touch on what you were talking about, Shauna, I think that experience that you were talking about, where like at the table and you have this feeling of like inexperience and inadequacy and uncomfortableness and low confidence at the table. I think that's something that a lot of Magic players can relate to. I think the difference is that they don't also have that feeling of what Lua was talking about, where you can feel as though you're being targeted or attacked because of your gender, right? That's like a very real thing.
To say that. And it feels like I'm almost like making an excuse for it, but it's real, and it's something that you have to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's something we deal with every day as a woman. Like,
well, I mean, I can say that for most guys, like I can imagine that, like, and especially Magic players too, because already like Magic players have like a very interesting like attitude problem where like there's a lot of confidence there and a lot of things where like you need to prove your worth and things like that. Like there's that general stereotype and statistic of like, oh, I can't lose to a girl, right? And so like but that's a very real thing, right? Like in male psyche, that's like a thing that exists. And so like when you sit down at a table and you might have this sense or feeling that like I may be being targeted, that could very well be a real thing. And so it's not that odd to say or to feel or express. And so I was just kind of wanted to touch on what Shauna was saying, where like I think that a lot of players feel that way, where there's that sense of like inadequacy, right? Or like maybe I'm not, good enough for this game, or maybe I don't belong here. But it's even worse when you couple on top of that the fact that your gender might be taken into account at the same time. And it's a feeling that I can't relate to personally, right? And so that's kind of why we're having this topic today to talk about this kind of stuff. An experience that, if you'd like to elaborate on, I think is a really good like segue here is, Lua, your experience at Oko, because you had, you've expressed that you've had that feeling where you felt like you may have been attacked or targeted for your gender, and then a video came out online that was actually like a really nice video that like showcased like some emotion at an event, and like it was very honest and open, and showed like people supporting each other and like helping each other through something, and you got kind of blasted and attacked for it online, which may have been uncalled for, and kind of like gross to see. Like knowing where it came from doesn't excuse it, but it definitely, like, that place is very toxic, and really, it was really it made me feel really uncomfortable just reading some of the things that were being said. So if you want to like kind of talk about that and elaborate on it, I'd love to get into it.
to circle back real quick before I get into that, this is one thing that I'm grateful that I had was support. When we're talking about the hotel situation and other stuff like that, you might not have that support from other people in your community there. I am extremely grateful that I had, Ian and Charles and other people that I could look to after this and feel support from, which might not happen for all the women that we're talking about. I was in a situation where it was a really tricky game where there was a lot of misplays. It was day 2, 6th round, and everybody was like really feeling like they needed to win, right? So it was very high stress on top of just misplays, bad plays, really intense politicking, slow play, and finally having to go to turns. There was a player that was in a position to win, and I had stopped that from happening. And so their response was scooping so that their stacks pieces would be removed so that I wouldn't win and it would force a draw. Which was like not a conversation I was prepared to have. And it's not a conversation I've ever witnessed before. So to me, it felt a little bit more targeted rather than just being like, yeah, I understand you don't want me to win. And there was pictures that Alan and Meant to Play Love Alan took and posted online where it's me at a table with about 30 people surrounding the table, which I'm claustrophobic and I didn't know I could be like, hey, can we make people leave? But that's just a little added pressure, right? And so the game finally comes to a draw. Ian is super awesome and is there to support me, and I just completely break down in tears crying because it was a very emotionally taxing game. It's not because I lost. It's not because I was upset about the amount of people. It was just a very emotional thing that had happened. And I think there are men who have full-blown breakdowns and are dramatic about stuff and freak out about things, and that's okay to do, but a woman crying is not always the right response. And I was also embarrassed being, one of as many as we can count on a hand women competing at an event and crying. Looter, I don't know if you were at the table. There was like 4 judges sitting there for our match.
I was standing next to you.
Yeah. And like it went past time like severely.
This is like 50 minutes past time. And
yeah,
actually, I remember this. I remember at some point I was like, wanted to lean in and ask you, hey, do you want me to like ask the players to like step back and stuff? Know. And like because I was like, I like realized like, oh, this is like probably a really stressful situation. Like after the fact, I was like thinking, I was like, that would like if I were in that situation, I would just be like having a panic attack. I would just
it was like a spectacle, and it was like everybody was there watching the match, right? So it was a lot. And Alan had posted a picture of me, didn't realize that I was crying while I was talking to Ian and Charles after the match. And I was like, you know what? I think this is okay to post because it's impactful. And I feel like people should be able to express those emotions after games. And people on the internet did not like that. They felt like it was very, I will use nicer terms. They felt like it was people that really, really like me for the wrong reasons were supporting me instead of doing it. Because they support me, and so it was a very weird reaction, but I turned it into a positive, and I made a very positive reaction out of the situation. So overall, I think it's important to talk about mental health when it comes to this, because I can imagine like even being in the top 16 must be so emotionally taxing while playing. You are doing so much math, you are doing so much critical thinking, and you're doing so much, not just like politicking, but like you're doing so much with several matches each day. Like that's a lot for a person. I don't know. I could talk more about it, but I'll let you talk because I've been talking for a while.
I think it's just like hard to find wins as a woman. Like unless I'm very much of the feeling that if I don't literally win the tournament and I don't place first, that I have failed in some way and that there was something I could have done better. And so playing cash cards, I lost in the top 16. And,
but you were so good, and it was so amazing.
And it just fucking sucks, dude, because it was like, Lua can attest to it. It was like 98 degrees, and we were in like a warehouse for Frankensons, which is just like a collectible warehouse. Yeah, it was hot as hell, and there were like, it was the last round we were like the last table playing for the top 16. All the 3 other tables had concluded, so people were just like 40 people like standing around, and Libby actually had to be the one to be like, hey guys, if you're not playing, go the fuck home, like go somewhere else, like. And so, and then one of the guys at that point had been like, oh, thank you, I was about to say something, like, even if you had the knowledge to be like, hey, do you mind backing up, you would get like raked across the coals for that too, because you'd be like, woman can't handle the stress. Like
Yep.
all three guys were okay with, you know, the crowd watching because they're allowed to
Yep.
watch because they're there. Like, people paid to play at this event, why can't they watch? Like, it's no matter what you do, someone's gonna take issue with it, and that, I know that's a running theme for literally everything in the world right now, but like,
No, it's true.
yeah, it just feels like there's nothing you can do unless you literally win the tournament. I feel like there's something I could have prevented, there's something I could have, like, so there's something better I could have done. I threw that game completely. Like, I had curiosity win on the table, and I just fucking threw. And it was the worst feeling in the world, because I got scared and I got stressed, and all of my opponents had risk studies, and I was like, I can't try to force a win into 3 risk studies, despite the fact that they had spent all their free interaction and were tapped out. But it was so rough. And as soon as I lost, one of my opponents that was next to me, who I had killed wrongly, I should have killed someone else, he was like, hey, I just want to tell you that you played really well. And I was like, fucking no, I didn't. Like, I played so badly. Like,
But that's so important that they show that support, especially like the 3 men that I played with were so fucking nice after the match. They each individually like came up to me and were like, hey, are you okay? I'm sorry this was intense. This was intense for me too. Like, one guy across me was having like a full breakdown, like angry the whole time we were playing. But nobody said anything about his reaction to the game, you know what I mean? And so opponents, like, I think the number one thing is, like, if you're playing at these events, make sure that you show up for the other people at your tables. You don't owe them anything, right? But you could be respectful, and you don't have to be an ass about how you're playing the game.
Yeah, I think that like something that's really cool to touch on here is that we kind of talked earlier about that feeling of inexperience, right? And how that plays like a really big role in like where a lot of emotions come from an emotional standpoint from the game. And what sucks about the internet is that there's never any context to what's being presented, right? So like the thing that like made me really upset about the post that garnered so much attention that involved you, Lua, was that there was no context provided for that post. So all that these people are looking at is like, oh, look at this. Here's a woman crying at a Magic tournament. La 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 la, right? And they
thought
just,
it was the first round too, so it went really well.
So they're like, and they have no idea that like, oh, there's a win presented on board, that someone, conceded a game in order to get a draw because they're playing to their outs. The fact that you haven't experienced what playing for draws is like before, especially at the end of a tournament where people are, going to be cutthroat trying to make it into top cut, right? And all these things like that. And like the fact that, when you have like a male dominated hobby like this, what do guys like to try to do all the time? Like, they're not real open about their emotions and things like that. So like I remember when I listened to the Mind Sculptors episode, Ian talked about crying in the elevator, right? And talking about how like that's where he felt comfortable to do that because no one could see him and he could, kind of hide behind that wall. And it's like, so it just sucked that there was no way for context to be provided. And then even if it is provided in that respect, nobody cares because they've already made up in their head what they think about that situation, right? Mm-hmm. And it just breeds that like toxic mindset, and it really shows the ugly side of the community that people like to pretend doesn't exist, but is always there and always looming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I give it to anybody who's in like the top 16 or top 4. Like, my mental health, I would just be like, okay, I'm playing a Magic card. Like, it would just be so bad. I can't imagine that. And so they like, chef's kiss to them, good luck to them. I can't imagine what that's like being in that position and constantly, like, for Ian, not to talk about Ian right now because we're talking about us amazing women, but to constantly be in that position of like having to be good, right, is probably very, very stressful. And it comes to us, Shauna, literally being one of the most important, or not important, but just like the most interactive woman in cEDH right now, I would say, like, at least that I see consistently performing at events and doing well and playing well. I think it's probably very stressful for you to bear some of that weight and feel like you have to perform well, and if you don't, then it's maybe not the best representation of women or anything else. I'm not trying to put thoughts in your head. I'm really sorry, but that's how I would feel.
No, you're good. And I feel like that's what I thought. Like, as soon, like, Alana's profile on Twitter is literally like, I top 16 events and then drop. Like, yeah. And so, like, the stress to just be like, And this is the same thing that everybody else faces. Like, I'm sure, like, Ian has constant stress to perform into top 4, because if he doesn't, then he sucks. Like, everybody will, like, nail him for it. Like, to being like, oh, your record was so
you're
good.
washed.
And you, like, yeah, you're washed. Yeah, Zane says that all the time. I'm a washed cEDH player. I'm washed. I don't do good anymore. Like, it sucks. Because everything that you do, everyone will know about at all times. So it's so difficult to just take it game by game and to just, you know, focus on your playing, because there are so many looming factors. I'm sure Alana, as soon as she gets into her top 16 match, she must be fucking dying. Like, because that's where all the pressure is. Like, this is your 5th time making it to a top 16 round, and you're like, I win this, or I just fucking lose as always. Like, that sucks.
Go back to.
I wouldn't
She's
even
so
want to play
cool.
it. Like,
She's
she's
so cool.
But at the same time, it's just like, I would rather. Adam typing about how Zane is what. That's so messed up. Anyway, Zane, we love you. I'm sorry, but I would almost prefer to, like, when I was getting into the breakers for top 16, I'd be like, I really kind of hope I fucking lose, so I don't have to worry about the stress of the top 16 match, because there's nothing worse. Because making points and stuff like that, and getting enough points to, like, make the cut, is nothing in comparison to I win this game or I stop. I win this game or I go home. Like, there's nothing compared to, like, the top 4 must be easier. I swear to God. Like, it must be easier because you're at least winning something. It's just one game once you're, like, top 4. You're at least winning something. But if you top 16 and lose, that's the worst shit ever. Because it just sucks. It just sucks so badly. But, go ahead.
I was gonna say something that I do want to segue into, because, like, I'd love to touch on this topic before we end the stream, is that when it comes to, like, any situation where you're feeling uncomfortable or not safe in the space that you're playing in, not only if you're, you know, a woman, but anybody, is to contact a judge, because I think something that people don't know is that it's actually, you know, a part of the judge's responsibility to make sure that players feel safe and are engaged and want to play in the event that they're in. Actually, a huge part of the Judge Academy, and Looter can kind of talk about this, is all about social interaction, how you interact with players, how you talk and present yourself to players, and, you know, how to deal with awkward and uncomfortable situations involving players. We had Seth on not that long ago, and we kind of, you know, talked a little bit about, like, what it's like judging and some of that stuff. But, you know, Looter, not only being a woman that's a judge, but also, you know, having the responsibility of being a judge, you know, that's something that that's a weight that you have to bear, and something that you have to kind of go through, and have probably had more experiences with these types of interactions than just the average player.
Right. Yeah. So, interestingly, when I'm judging tournaments, most people, and I'm, like, delivering a ruling, most people, like, I don't feel like people, like, appeal rulings that I give more often because I'm a woman, and I feel like I get appealed rulings just kind of reasonably often. Just, like, they're just like, you know, it's just like kind of like a weird, you know, it might be like a weird thing, or you know, whatever. I don't feel like whenever I, like, interact, like, at an event that I'm, like, actually judging, I don't feel that pressure. But when, like, online spaces, like, people don't know where I'm a judge, I, like, do not answer rules questions ever, because I just get constantly people up the time, like, you're wrong, and I'm like I will just, like, link a ruling, like, from the comprehensive rules, like, we're just like, no, like, I just don't. I refuse to answer rulings anywhere that isn't spaces where people know I'm a judge, because I will just get shit talked for it. Like, not gonna listen to me. Like, not gonna care, because I'm a woman.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear, because, like, I know, like, you're really involved in my server for Sadnaws, and you're one of the best judge resources that we have. When someone has a judge question, you're, like, right there, you're on top of it. But we have a judge role, right? We have a role that, like, clearly identifies, like, you're a judge. You even have a badge next to your name that says level 1, right? And lets everybody know your judge level. And what a lot of other places have, and, like, specifically the Discord communities, right? Because that's where I think cEDH players are the most active, is in Discord and stuff like that. There aren't a lot of those resources. You know what is really like, well presented and out there are pronouns in Discords, right? So everybody can see your pronoun and see, you know, what you identify as, but they might not know that you're a judge. And so that can play a big role where things like that can really affect how you interact online with other people, right? Like, oh, they know I'm a woman, but they don't know I'm a judge. If I give a ruling, they're not going to care because I'm a woman, right? Like that must be really make you really uncomfortable. And that's interesting to hear that you just won't even interact in places where people don't know who you are or know what you do because of that type of, elicited response.
I just want to make a note real quick. One thing I would love if conventions start to do more, which is very prominent at like a Comic-Con or something else. Not a lot of badges go at these type of tournaments, but something where you can have like, these are my pronouns, or like, this is my name, or something, so that people know when you're sitting at a table, I think would be a huge improvement. Badges or tags or something like that, especially more comfortable as like a woman or a non-binary person playing at a table, I think would be really, really helpful. Just
yeah. I know like some events have been really open about like the name tag thing, right? Where they put their name tag on. That can be like a touchy subject because it's kind of a workaround, right? Because like you're using people's names, not people's pronouns, but also like using people's names is also like very polite. I know that that's something that some places have actively tried using. I know it's a very interesting experience to have. Because like something that I've tried to do in games is where I sit down at the table and I'll just be like, hey, what's everybody's pronouns? Like before we start the game. And being a guy that does that, sometimes I feel like an alien because of like the responses. Well, like the responses that I get from people, right? If I sit down at a pod with presumably all males and I go, hey, what's everybody's pronouns? Because I'm trying to be polite.
They're going to look at you like, what?
It gets really awkward, and it's not an awkward situation. Like it shouldn't be an awkward situation, right? Like I'm just trying to be polite and like make sure that I set things the right way. And that sometimes that interaction can be like really weird for people, and I don't really understand why. But I do think that that's like a way for people to interact better and feel more comfortable if you don't have to have that conversation or no, right? If you have a badge or a wristband, like colors that identify, he, him, she, her, and then they, them, right? Like that's a really easy, simple way to, meet people and engage in a way that's more comfortable and lets people feel included. I think that's like a really cool suggestion.
Yeah, I think in general... go ahead. No, you had...
Sorry. I was just saying it was so simple to do, like write a check-in as soon as you go in and be like, if you would like a badge, here it is. Put your stuff. That's it. Continue.
Or like a sticker, something. Yeah.
I think that the first Command Fest that I went to, they had like different colored ribbons, like a red ribbon and a green ribbon and a yellow ribbon for like your level of competitiveness. And then at their next Command Fest event, it was hosted by Pastimes, they exchanged those for pronoun ribbons. So that was really nice. But I think that the moral of the story for this and for any other, like, gender issue, or if you accidentally, like, be a dick to a woman at your table and you didn't mean to, the thing is that if you fuck up and you know you did, make sure you mention it. Like, there have been so many times where I've called someone by the wrong pronouns, and they've had to correct me, and part of me, the first part, wants to sit in my shame and do nothing and just be quiet and never do anything.
Just be like, oh.
And just say, oh shit. And then the second part is just like, okay, a couple turns later, I'll be like, you know what? Hey, I am so sorry. I misused your pronouns. I'm sorry about that. I will try better. I will try harder. Like, and they're like, oh no, totally fine. I'm so sorry. Like, as if they're impeding on me by using their pronouns, So if you fuck up at a tournament and you can tell that you did something wrong, find the player afterwards and be like, hey, this is what happened and this is how I feel and I am sorry. Like, I will do better in the future. There is no shame in that. The shame is going home and having people think that you're an ass and like not like being comfortable with you in future tournaments, because this stuff is going to keep happening. We're going to keep having more and more tournaments. This year is 5. Next year it'll be 10. Everyone is like, this cEDH community is gaining so much fucking ground. Like, you want to be known as someone who wants to include people. You want to be known as someone who includes women and non-binary people and transgender people. Like, make yourself known as someone who is inclusive and will, like, be there when people need it. And I think we've lost Looter. Looter, are you here?
I'm back. I'm
okay.
back. I'm
cool.
Here.
Nice. Okay.
Like, flipped out for a moment.
All right. Closing thoughts. Adam, if you're going to tell a woman in Magic anything, someone who has not come to tournaments or who continually goes to tournaments, what would you tell them?
Well, I think I'd want to start off by saying, like, this topic of conversation for, like, the viewers watching, I think most people know this. This isn't like a man, we hate all men and they suck, this is why kind of stream. This is to give people a platform to discuss problems and have that uncomfortable conversation that isn't projected out there in the community, right? There's not a lot of content on it. There's not a lot of things out there. There's not a lot of voices, and if there are voices, they're sometimes being suppressed. So giving people a platform to express these things and kind of talk about it is really good. And that's why we want to elevate this and have a stream like this. I think that Eminence, as a tournament organizer, is doing a lot of work to try to be more inclusive, not only to women, but to LGBT, Q plus community members, to people of color, to all these types of things, to try to, make the community more inclusive and make the tournament space feel safer and have more enfranchised players and more people that want to play cEDH. Because, we're not doing this to make money. We're doing this because we love cEDH and we want to see the format grow. We want more people to play against and more people to beat, because that's what we want to do as competitive players, right? And so that's the goal of something like this, is to be inclusive and to give people the opportunity to help each other grow and help each other get better, right? That's like a big statement and a thing that you see all the time that people don't really discuss, is just, sometimes we got to be better. And so that's that I would just say, like, all of us as a community, as a group, whatever, just be better, and work towards that and listen to each other and hear each other out and try to adjust and change to help other people feel comfortable. Because it's, that's the easiest thing you can do, is it's easy for you to change. It's hard to force other people to change. So, just, adapt and be cool. Just be cool, guys. Come on.
Lua, any closing thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, just kind of piggyback off that. It is so easy to just be nice to people, and it is so free to be nice to people. I understand that the competitive space can get really overheated and stuff, and I don't think it's necessarily your, kitchen table round of Magic, right, when you're playing at this space. But even then, for my first tournament, every table I was at was so respectful and like so kind, which was like something I was really, really worried about. So I think just being kind to people is a big step, and like it should be so easy to do, right? I think there is more room for diversity and inclusion in the future for these events. I am more excited to see more women and non-binary folks coming to play. Again, I am trying to. I ain't Miss Moneybags, but if I can sponsor a few people for every tournament, and you're looking to play, and you're a member of the LGBT community or a woman, please message me. I will do my best to at least cover your entry for a few people. And I guess just closing stuff is please continue to support great events like Eminence. And also, if you want to check out my show, it's called Scry Babies. We're a women-led Magic the Gathering channel that focuses on cEDH, EDH, Pauper, and more. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Looter, closing thoughts. Where can we find you?
Yeah, definitely stand by Lua. Don't be a dick. It's so easy to just be nice to a human. If you wouldn't say something to another guy, don't say it to a woman. Like, please do not ask if we're there for our boyfriends, because we're not. I'm gay. I'm not in search of a boyfriend. Yeah, please don't do that ever. It's never cool. But yeah, just like be nice. Just be cool humans. And you can find me on Twitter at Looty_Scooty. And then you can find my podcast, because at Looter-Scooter's taken.
That's so fucked up.
Unbelievable. And you can find my podcast at it's the On an Adventure podcast on Spotify.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You're one episode in, right?
I'm one episode in. I recorded 2 this week, and one's going to be coming out on Monday next week.
Hell yeah. Adam, what do you do? Where do people find you?
You can find me at any Eminence event. I'll be at all of them, even the online ones. If I'm not casting it, I'm 03 dropping it. So, come and see it. It's great. It's a fun time. You can also find me anywhere on the internet as Poppyphobia. You can watch me in like 23 minutes on stream with Alan. So, get on that. You can also find my podcast and YouTube channel, Sad Naws. We just got into shorts, YouTube shorts. That's fun stuff,
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, we're basically like TikTokers now. This is so cool. But but yeah, that's where you can find me and find what I do. Silicon Dynasty is coming up. Please be there. Even if you're not planning on playing, come check it out. Going to be in San
Not
Jose,
playing.
California, the 13th through
Going.
the 15th. Yeah, it's going to be just an amazing time. Tons of people having tons of fun playing Magic. To be a sense of community, right? And you'll get an opportunity to really see what it's like to see a full-fledged cEDH tournament with an amazing staff and an amazing cast. Don't forget to sign up for Mox Masters. It's going to be January 28th, right? I think I got that right. Yeah. We both will be competing in that, and that's an awesome event to go into. It's a Playing with Power tournament, Mox Masters. Eminence helps run and host that, so make sure you'll be there. Also, we have Punt City 2 coming up in March. Tickets are going to go on sale very soon. Everybody's been asking. They've been clamoring. They've been like, yo, when can I get tickets to Punt City in Philly? Well, guess what? Like, in a few weeks here, they're coming out, and they're going to sell out quick, like very, very quick. We've had a lot of people reach out already. So, make sure you come to that, as well as the other events that we have going on. If you want to learn all about them, I have a podcast episode with Mike Bonney and Mikey, the TOs of Eminence, where they talk all about all the events that are coming up, including our Nationals tournament at the end of the year. So, go check that out and hit us up and have some fun. We also have there's a cast tournament next month. There's the training grounds going on all over year. Support all our tournament organizers in the community, because if you don't support them, then guess what? No more tournaments, bozo. So
Jesus, we're getting threatening at this point.
no, I'm just saying, if you don't play in tournaments, there won't be anymore. So we get out there and have some fun.
Fair. Yeah, if you have any reservations about playing in a tournament and you never have before, please just dip your feet in the water and come watch, because now that I have officially garnered a gambling addiction, I know that there's nothing, we'll talk about that later, there's nothing in comparison to playing Magic. If you go and you watch, you'll be like, why the fuck didn't I play at this thing? This seems so fun. If you have any reservations whatsoever, give it a try first. Thanks, Flowers, for subscribing. But last thoughts. You have a 25% chance of winning every game that you play. If you're a woman, if you are transgender, if you are non-binary, if you are a straight male, you have a 25% chance of winning, and 25% is not zero. You will always have a chance to win. Never settle for the draw. Never settle for not playing. Never go into a game thinking you're going to lose. You can always win the game. You have a chance, and it will never be zero regardless of who you are or what you're playing. So, we're going to go because Adam has to be on a very cool, great podcast. But thank you guys for all watching. We're going to go raid, unless you're Adam, in which case your chance of winning is probably 5%. I'm sorry, Adam.
No, it's zero. It's zero.
That's 0%.
Zero at all times.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to raid Moderately Anonymous MTG because Dan is my favorite. Okay, thank you guys.
Awesome.
Bye, guys. See you next time.